Alright my friends, how you all doing? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a fresh episode of our community build, Jamii Conservation Park. We are going to be doing a 10.5 episode today, but it isn't going to be the cinematic video I promised. Basically, after the last episode, I had lots of really fascinating comments, and there were two in particular that I want to bring to your attention and kind of give you a few options basically going forward. Now, you know, I could have quite easily just taken these comments on board and gone with it and just done it and gone racing ahead with it, but this is a community build and every decision we make, I think that all of us deserve to be involved. So yeah, basically that's what we're going to be doing in today's episode. I have done a bit of building based on comments that were left in the last episode as well, so I am going to show you that. It's kind of the reason why we're looking at the original part of JCP, because of the stuff that I've been doing, but yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. Now, if you did miss last episode, it's linked above, my friends. Feel free to go check that out. It was a really interesting one. We got our first reptile nursery built and you know, opened up a little bit more space and completed a few areas, so do feel free to go and check that out. I noticed, by the way, ladies and gents, that the poll didn't work on that episode, so in future, please, when you're saying about moving forward and stuff like that, make sure you leave it with your comment in the comment section. I am gonna look at a way to maybe do a poll via the Discord or via my socials. I think there should be a way I can link it so that you guys can just click a link and vote, as I think that is the best way to do it. Yeah, I'll make sure there's options. But for now, in that comment section below, just make sure you let me know when you want to move forward and stuff like that. Now, basically, what has happened, ladies and gents, is first and foremost, I've noticed that the views really dropped off last episode. I think a lot of this is because at the moment, when we unlock a square, there's no surprise because of us planning out what we were going to do in, you know, a couple of episodes ago. And I totally understand that. And I think another thing and another reason why people are not that interested to keep returning is because of, you know, the lack of animals that we're doing at the moment. And I got a couple of comments in from a couple of real regulars and people whose opinion where this series is concerned mean a lot to me, and I think that they have put two very good points forward where this is concerned, and so I'm definitely going to be sort of like reading them out to you. Now, what I want to say as well is that I'm not going to go through all the comments from last episode, but do not worry, I'm going to save them and we will do them in the next episode, because I think that they will still be I still think that they will matter. I still think that they will you know, warrant being read out, because there were some fantastic ideas and some fantastic things said again. But without further ado, let's get into the bones of today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, and you're going to basically see on your screen now the first of the two comments, and it comes in from a real regular on the series and someone who has always you know, brought some fantastic ideas to the table, and it's that of Nightclyve. Now, Nightclyve has sent this message in. I've had a good read of it, and you know, I think it actually makes a lot of sense, and I hope that you guys sort of agree with you know, the points that Nightclyve is putting forward. He put, "Hi Dan, first of all, get a cup of tea. The following's going to take a while. I will let you know, my friend, I do have a cup of tea. Let me start by once again admiring the amount of detail in the newest build. Amazing, especially in the nursery. It's really thought through. Even if I expected a medical station and one room full of vivariums, maybe in the second one." Yep, I totally agree. That is kind of like my idea for the second one. There were some things that came to my concern though. Number one, you may have noticed that the park by now is mostly filled with houses. To sum up from the beginning, I assume that JCP is 65% buildings, mostly for infrastructure, 20% pathing, and just 15% actual outdoor habitats, the sort you would expect mostly in any zoological facility. Don't get me wrong, I love the fact that you've gone that way. Most Let's Players completely ignore the infrastructure a realistic park would need, but now we're in desperate need of more animals, and that's where we should set our focus. But your planning seems to involve even more houses for insects, lemurs, etc. Yeah, totally agree with that. Sadly, a zoo containing more indoor than outdoor habitat seems kind of against the idea. I think a big part of this problem is that we built this park square by square, and by doing so, it's harder to plan bigger habitats. That I do totally 100% agree with. It is very difficult to plan stuff because of the way we are unlocking the zoo. bigger habitats. Therefore, I suggest that we should allow ourselves to unlock more than one square per episode, just like you suggested with the parking lot, which, by the way, I support. Also, this would allow us to reserve certain areas in favour of our general concepts. Now, I do quite like this idea. I like the fact that maybe you guys could pick a square, you know, on the map and say, in that square, we should have this animal. If I just kind of like zoom out and I kind of show you the bigger picture that this zoo is basically, I think it would, you know, not be the worst idea if, you know, the squares that are close to what we're doing now, you basically said, how about this square we reserve for such and such. I actually don't mind that idea. I think it's a very interesting point that Nightclyve has put forward. I do think it's a really interesting point he's put forward as well, by saying, you know, that because we are doing square by square, it is harder to plan bigger exhibits. I can't argue with that fact at all. I think that the huge exhibits obviously are going to belong in the bigger squares, but you know, if you don't have one close to you know, your facility, or it's in the wrong place, you're never really going to want to build in it basically. I have kind of given away some of the work that I've been doing now by zooming out. We'll take a better look at it in a moment, but yeah, I do kind of respect that idea completely, ladies and gents. So yeah, it's a really good point that Nightclyve makes where that's concerned. 2, there is another reason for us to speed up the integration of new animals. There are serious rumours about a new expansion in July. I'm not sure what it will be, either Avery or Australian. Anyway, the new animals will certainly become the most requested, and since planning ahead for them for obvious reasons is impossible, we should cement at least a rough layout. Considering JCP is yet to get its first mammal, I suggest either to pick the square opposite to the entrance and place an open air lemur habitat. Sorry for whoever had the idea of a lemur house. That's just not what the park needs right now. Maybe we can build parts of the park later when other space effective animal that don't fit into one of the major biomes are in the game. Or we pick square 13 and work our way towards the tropical house. I don't want to sound harsh or offend anyone's ideas. I just think facing the facts, this is our best opportunity. Now, I want to let people know as well, because a few people in their comments said, I really don't want you to think I'm offending you, I don't want to criticize you. Do not worry about what you say. At the end of the day, this is a community build, right? And we're going to get things right and we're going to get things wrong. And when we get things wrong, we just fix it. You can't say anything bad to me. At the end of the day, not every comment is going to be an amazing comment. It's simple as that, because, you know, sometimes we're going to get things wrong. There are limitations to this series, and I think that is basically what Nightclyve has picked up on. And you're going to see as well, we've got another comment where they've picked up on the fact there's limitations, and they think that, you know, we should try and push forward to try and solve those limitations a little bit. But like I say, I'm bringing it to your guys' attention because this is a community series. This is a build for all of us to be getting involved in, and you know, we can't just leave, you know, 1 or 2 people to make these suggestions and me just go with it, because that's not how the series works. So I completely understand exactly where Nightclyve's coming from. That he's basically brought to our attention that there are limitations to the series. It's very difficult to plan the bigger exhibits, and I do respect his point about the lemurs as well. Yes, another house isn't what the zoo needs. What I would say though, one thing to sort of counter the argument of the houses, is that these houses and these buildings are all very much needed. I don't think any of these are here that don't have a purpose, but I respect that. That's not what we need next. I respect that, you know, a lemur house isn't what we need. I do think that an outdoor lemur area with potentially a small building on the back for educational purposes on where they go of an evening is kind of the direction we should go, rather than doing a big, you know, lemur dome or something like that. I just don't think that that is, you know, going to fit the build at the moment, basically. But I'm completely taking it on board, and I'm bringing it to your attention because when I read the next comment out, I'm then going to make some suggestions to you guys. All right. So, yeah, just stick with me. This is a bit of a weird episode, but I think it was very much needed. The second comment comes in from Sander Neelan. Now, another person who regularly comes to the channel, regularly comments on this series, has, you know, really invested in it and suggests some very good ideas. Now, Sander has gone on to say, first of all, the nursery looks great. It's detailed enough, but since it's backstage area, it doesn't have to be fancy. Normally, I make a list of my recommendations, but today I have one rigorous suggestion. I read Nightclyve's comment and I totally agree with him. We're heavy on buildings. In the near future, it seems we are not going to solve that. Besides that, it feels like we are standing still at the moment. We've got stuff planned out, but that means we know what's going to happen when we unlock a square. So I think we can make up for those episodes we missed and open squares 7 to 11 and 20 to 22. Maybe even 1 and 2 to join the parks, complete the parking, and from then on, we can move forward. I know this will take some time and will be a lot of work, but again, I feel we're stuck right now. Since you were going to do a cinematic video, you could check how the community feels about this. Don't take this as criticism, look at it as feedback. Now, every single comment I look at as feedback, so in future, don't feel like you need to write anything like you're offending me or criticising me. Criticism, believe it or not, ladies and gents, those of you that are watched that are a bit younger, criticism, believe it or not, is a really good thing. Constructive criticism is something you can learn from, all right? So that is like, if you want a bit of advice about life, constructive criticism will make you a better person, trust me. It's something that took me a long time to realise, but criticism really can make you a better person, and I am very open to criticism as long as it has a point. And do you know what? Both these comments have got very, very good points. Now, the point that Sander's making is that there's no surprises at the moment, and I completely get that as well, because obviously we did that planning episode and we started putting things in spots. We knew where it was going to go, kind of thing. It has taken the element of surprise away. You know what's going to be there. Yeah, you don't know what it's going to look like, but you know it's going to be there. And also, they're making the point that we did miss some episodes. We missed 3 weeks of uploading, so essentially 6 episodes, 6 opportunities to unlock squares. And I think that's a really interesting point. Now, the 20 to 22, that was the parking lot squares. Now, what I am going to say right now is I'm going to show you some stuff in a bit that I have done, because the majority of you got back to me and they said, unlock those squares, because nobody's going to pick them, nobody's going to want to see them unlocked, because it's just going to be parking and it's just going to be like dead space basically, so just do it. So I have done that, and I'll show you what I've done in a moment. But what's interesting as well is that Sander has said that potentially we should unlock 7 to 11, which is these 5 squares here, ladies and gents. Now, these are very interesting squares for me, because if we get these unlocked, we can join the 2 sections of this zoo up. And I think that would be a huge deal for the series going forward, because it will make our staff's life easier in the zoo. It will then give us a real nice flow of continuity between old and new, and we'll be able to get the baby croc exhibit in. We'll be able to get the checkpoint sorted out. We'll be able to get this backstage area complete, and it will then open this area, which is going to lead on to bigger and better things as we start thinking about those bigger sections of the zoo. Now, we've kind of, we've picked this one for the tropical house, and I think that's going to be perfect. And I think that, is probably the next big house that we build in the zoo. I think it's going to be further enough away from the existing stuff that we've got to be able to really fit in there. But I think all around, based on those 2 comments, we really need to start planning out animal exhibits that are outside the bigger species, and try to start bringing some other elements into the zoo, because I do think the points are massive. I do think the points are valid. I think that it's definitely something we've got to press on with. What I would say is, from this wall here, right here, that's where the reptile stuff finishes. All these squares around the reptile centre, I think we can use them to build reptile stuff, like nurseries, research centres, potentially an amphitheatre for birds and reptiles. But then from there on out, we forget about reptiles and we really start concentrating on the bigger picture. That is the zoo going forward. So basically, I've brought these 2 comments to your attention because I think that they've brought up a few very valid points, and I think that they've brought up valid points in us potentially unlocking some more squares, basically. So the question I'm going to put forward to you, it's a very long-winded way of doing this, but the question I'm going to put forward to you is, do you agree with Nightclyve and Sander Neelan, and do you think we should press forward the way they've said? Now, if you think that these 5 squares being unlocked really, really opens up more opportunity for me, let me know. I would be more than happy to unlock those 5 squares. I can then really crack on with some interesting stuff where this build is concerned. I can get the baby crocodile exhibit in. I can get this lovely plazaed checkpoint put in. I can get this backstage area finished. I can get the 2 bits of the park linked up, and then we can really press forward. Now, from what Nightclyve was saying, he was suggesting that we potentially sort of unlock this square here, I think, opposite the entrance. We know that guest services is going in the front here, but he was kind of suggesting that we unlock this square here. I should say, I'm assuming you're a man, Nightclyve, so apologies if you're a woman, but yeah, they've said to unlock this square here, and then potentially that's where the lemurs could go, and I actually don't mind that. I think that's quite a good placement for the lemurs, especially if we were to move the events facilities back a little into this square and this one, and they share it with education, because it would be a great area for those people to be able to maybe see the lemurs and stuff. I don't know, I'm trying to really sort of think outside the box now, but yeah, I'm assuming that's the square he's on about. So what I'm saying is, if we unlock these five, I get cracking on some work, and then next episode people want to unlock this, and then we can get the lemurs done. Once we unlock this and we start working towards this, I think the sky's the limit, basically. So yeah, I just want your opinion. Do you think we should unlock these 5 squares now? Get that job done, get that working. While I'm working on it, you can be unlocking other squares, you can start planning out. And the other big thing is as well, at the end of episodes, would you like me to zoom out and, you know, I'll number the squares around, and you can pick the square and tell me what you think should go in it. And then what we can do is, at the end of every episode, we can update that plan that I was doing a couple of episodes ago. I just think, obviously, we're kind of at a stage now where planning is going to be a big part of the series. I think we have to plan where stuff's going to go. I don't think we really are going to be able to unlock a square now, like this square, and go, oh, I don't know what to do with it. Let's just unlock it and see what happens. I think we're going to have to really start thinking about it and go in from there. So yeah, basically, I'm just asking for your feedback. Once again, I'm asking for your comments. I'm asking for your ideas, and I'm just asking to see what you all think about the points, and the very valid points, that Nightclyve and Sander Neelan have put forward, ladies and gents. So yeah, do let me know. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this because it just makes sense, and I'm going to head over to a build section in today's episode. And so here we are, ladies and gents, in a little bit of a build section in today's episode. Now, I haven't done a lot, but based on your feedback, based on what you guys were saying, I decided to get parking done. I had some really good comments and really good ideas, actually, with regards to my parking. One was like a bridge that walked over. I did try to put the bridge in, but it was so tight for space, I couldn't make it work. But I do have an idea of implementing that element later on down the line, because we are obviously going to need coach parking at some point. I haven't put that in here. I just wanted this to be for, you know, your guests with just your smaller vehicles. I think it makes sense, and yeah, this is basically what I've come up with. It's a car park, essentially, ladies and gents. It's nothing that interesting, but I think it was very much needed. So the way that the car park would work, and trust me, it is pretty realistic. I had a good look to see if this could be the case, but yeah, you would head in this way. You would head around, and obviously if this car park was full, then you would just head around this way down here. The way this car park works is you go to the bottom first, and you just kind of filter up each aisle, and then if the car park's full, you come up here, and this is where you would exit, and you would either exit this way or you would exit this way, potentially follow this up, and I may have another car park come off up here as well. Now, I was going to have this as sort of like an entrance point for deliveries and things like that, but that would be really poor planning, considering this is the guest entrance. So essentially, in the future, what I am thinking, because there's going to be a big zoo, like animal hospital up this way, we will have a bigger road up here, and we will have an exit come off of that road just for kind of like staff use that will come up this way later on down the line, basically. I think it makes more sense to just have a designated area for staff and deliveries and, you know, animal, you know, deliveries, etc., etc. I just think it makes more sense to do that from future. So this is just a guest entrance for now. So yeah, this is the car parks, ladies and gents. The front of the car park is car park C. The back of the car park is car park D. It's kind of how I've planned it out. Now, this isn't finished. This part here, but this is essentially the park that I mentioned to you guys that we're going to put in. I've just put a nice little path here. Now, my thinking behind this was that if you was to park in here, because there was no parking over near the old reptile house and you didn't want to visit the zoo but you just wanted to visit that, then you can come this way and if you want, walk through the park, and then you have to walk up to the reptile house. It does mean you got a little bit of a walk to get there, but if it's just the reptiles you're here to see, then that's ideal. I finished this off the other day, didn't I? And I now have put in a zoo sign for Jamii Conservation Park. I basically tried a bunch of different ideas. This was the one I think just looked the nicest and actually fits in there the nicest as well. I think it's a nice little addition. Now I did have park over here initially, but it just looked a bit strange, the spacing. So that's kind of how I've made it for now. And of an evening it is all lit up as well because I've put lights there. And I just think it's a nice little addition to the zoo, basically, ladies and gents. So I wanted to get a Thursday episode out. I didn't want it to be a dead day. I do want to try to continue as much as possible with the Thursdays and the Sunday episodes. And I just think there was some very good points put forward and some interesting points for us to really be considering and talking about, basically, ladies and gents. And so that's why I wanted to do this episode the way that I've done it. But that's a bit of building I've done in today's episode, I guess we'll just move forward and I will close the episode out with a very small live section. Okay, ladies and gents, so obviously I've pressed the play button. We are in the live section, and we're just going to do a very, very small amount of zoo management, basically, ladies and gents. I just want to take a look at, the stuff we've got going on. Now, the animal nursery rooms are full up because I put all the babies in there, but I think we can kind of get away with it, just leaving the nurseries full at the minute. We will come down. I just want to see, if there's any animals that we need to really be thinking about trading away. We do here. We've got a car. We've got one youngster, gear monster. We can probably be trading away, and I think that's gonna be it. Actually, just the one. So let's actually release this animal to the wild. Get some conservation points. They will be important in the future. So what problems have we got? The peafowl is hungry, so let's call the keeper over here to do the job. Now, this is another big problem we're facing because the zoos are not joined up as well, is that, our zookeepers are not able to, get over here quickly enough, and it is starting to cause a little bit of a problem. I'm going to be honest with you, with the animals getting fed and the animals getting looked after and so on and so on. But this area does look very, very nice now. I do have to say so myself. It is a really nice area. So basically, we're going to finish today's episode by just reiterating, the points that have already been made in today's episode. Just quickly going over them again because we didn't really have too much live stuff to do there. The zoo is working quite well, to some extent. So basically, what the point I'm going to put forward to you, ladies and gents, is do we unlock these 5 squares? Now, we've got $800,000 in the bank. And what I'm going to say is that if we do unlock these squares, I'm not moving forward in time. We're gonna leave the game where it is, okay? I think that it would be cheating to move the game forward in time if we was to add up all these years, basically, 5, 10, 15, 25, it'd be 35 years we move forward. We'd have a ridiculous amount of money if we move forward 35 years. So I'm not going to move forward in time. But the question I'm going to pose to you is not so much do we move forward, but should we unlock these 5 squares and really crack on with the idea that Sand and Neelan put forward? Do you think that, Sand and Neelan and Nightclyve have made really good points, and should we start future planning other squares as well? So that's what I need you to be getting involved in the comment section. I'll basically let it go for a couple of days because that will take us to Saturday, and then if you basically agree, I'll delete those squares, and then when we come back next episode, we'll sort of start tackling the points that they've put forward as the heavens have opened. It's definitely an English zoo, isn't it? Pouring down with rain in the middle of summer in August. But they're the points I basically want you to consider this episode. I think that they're very valid points. I've probably said that many, many a time during the course of the episode, but I do think they're really valid points, and I think that they pose very interesting options and very interesting ideas. So do let me know, ladies and gentlemen. But let's sign out today's episode by taking a look at our beautiful flamingos as they enjoy a downpour in this English zoo. If you're new to the channel, my friends, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Drop me a like on this one if you've enjoyed it. You'll find all the good stuff in the description box, you know, socials, Discord, all that good stuff. And yeah, please get involved in the comment section below and try to answer all the questions that I've posed to you in today's episode. This isn't like an official episode, this is a 10.5, and the cinematic is going to come, but I just felt this was more important than showing off the zoo and what we've built so far, ladies and gents. But you make sure you stay an extra, and I'll see you real soon for another edition of Jamii Conservation Park.